Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria says they are not backing down on their nationwide strike action as efforts to quell the labor agitation of the medical practitioners prove abortive. And former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has asked the new EFCC boss to resist political manipulation and fix the image of the agency as he alleges politicizing the anti-corruption war. Happy Easter, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Shunwa Kimale at Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. Our attention tonight is on the doctor strike. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, is our guest tonight. But before we get talking with the minister, let's tell you that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is asking the new chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa, to resist any external manipulation that might dent the image of the anti-graft agency further. The former PDP presidential candidate is alleging that the EFCC has been used in the past to intimidate political opponents of the party in power and has asked Mr. Bawa to redeem that perception. In a statement today, Mr. Abubakar said, and I quote, "You must be ready to restore the glory of the EFCC by changing its public perception as a political tool of the government in power. Let your conscience and history judge you, but you can only do so if you resist external manipulation. May Allah guide you aright." Those are the words of the former vice president. And let's get to our focus tonight. We shall be focusing on the strike action by the resident doctors in Nigeria who began their action yesterday, 2 days after President Buhari departed Nigeria for London for a medical checkup. The doctors are asking, amongst other things, that the federal government should keep to its promise on payment of allowances, salary arrears, review of hazard allowance, payment of COVID-19 allowance, and several other issues. The federal government delegation led by the Ministry of Labor has been meeting with the doctors who have down to, but it appears that the negotiation going into the Easter holiday has collapsed because as of this evening, the doctors insist that they are continuing with the strike action. The resident doctors are insisting that they are not going back on their ongoing strike action if their demands for a better welfare package are not met by the federal government. The president of the association made a declaration today in Abuja pointing out that doctors have resorted to begging for alms. He adds that about 17 doctors have lost their lives to the coronavirus, COVID-19. The Minister of Labor, Senator Chris Ngige, is our guest tonight, and he joins us from our Abuja studio. Good evening, Honorable Minister, and welcome to the program. Happy Easter to you. Let's begin the conversation on what has become...
to you and the viewers.
Thank you. This has become a major worry for a lot of people. You're a medical doctor, so you perhaps will understand better what some of these doctors are going through. It appears your negotiation with the doctors has not yet yielded the desired goal. The doctors insist, as of this evening, that they will continue with the strike. It looks like you have not met their demands. Why?
Well, Shaun, first and foremost, let me also correct this impression that I led the federal government delegation. No. I'm a conciliator. Their negotiation with their principal employers, their primary employers, the Federal Ministry of Health, broke down. And they have sought help in many places, including the National Assembly. And I had to intervene when they wrote me and gave what we call in trade union parlance trade dispute notice, that they will down tools and go on strike after this number of days. So as a proactive measure, I had to call the government side, led by the Federal Ministry of Health, last week, precisely on the 25th, 26th. And we looked at the issues raised by the young doctors. And some of them have merit. And I told the health and the Accountant General's office, A, B, C, D you can do, even before I now convene a meeting between you and them. So that when you come to the table, you would have fulfilled most of the conditions. And I can tell you that even though they didn't clear everything, substantially demands were met. And some of the demands were done out of ignorance. They didn't have the full picture. Maybe they want to go on strike, or their president want to carry them onto a strike so that his name will go into the annals of NARD as one of the tough presidents that have taken them on strike. That's wrong. I don't like it. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a medical doctor of about 42 years. I qualified in 1979. And I have children in the medical school. In fact, one of them is a doctor now. He's a houseman. He's one of those being talked about. So I don't like the way the president of the NARD is going about this business. He didn't participate in most of the discussions yesterday because he fell ill in the middle of the discussion, or in fact at the beginning of the discussion, and had to excuse himself. His deputies and the Secretary General and other officers of the association participated fully. We spent 7 hours. 7 hours, and by the time we put our signatures on paper, 8 hours. I left my office by 12:30 a.m. yesterday, Thursday, to come home, to catch some sleep. So what he's doing, I don't like it. He disowned the agreement that was signed by his deputies. It's not done in labor negotiations. Everybody signed, about 8 officers of government, 4 officers of government, and 3 from NRD signed this document I'm holding. And he just went to his neck and disowned the paper because they were signed by his deputy and the Secretary General. That's not how negotiations are done. There is what is called a transmission of power. He, as president, fell sick, and then his deputies continued with the Secretary General. And that's allowed. So I don't want
Minister,
to go on...
So let's get it clearly so that Nigerians can understand where we are at right now, because it's not a good time for doctors to be on strike because we are on holiday. And should anybody fall sick, it's not a good time for the doctors not to be at their duty post. But let's get it clear. Are you saying that the government has met all the demands of NARD?
NARD tabled about 7 demands to government through the Ministry of Health. Luckily, I have conciliated some of these demands earlier on in 2020. If you remember vividly, they ended their strike in September 2020, just about 8 months ago. So some of the things they put down here are things that have been executed. Some of the problem with full implementation lies with them. Let me start with the ones that are easy for you to follow. They talked about group life insurance, that 17 medical doctors lost their lives, and that right now their families are not yet being compensated. Agreed. We have sympathy for those who lost their life. They are in the front line of battle. But this government are put in the wake of COVID-19, April 2020, a 9.3 billion insurance, group life insurance, with 13 insurance companies for all workers that are civil servants or who are in institutions that are not treasury funded. That is parastatals that are treasury funded. 9.3 billion, 13 insurance companies. PTF put additional insurance for health workers that were donated to them. We also said there is also an insurance for injuries or disease or whatever, death even at work, managed by NSITF, called employee compensation. These are the 3 insurances that were on there. But the one from the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation is 9.3 billion, fully paid by the federal government of Nigeria for all our workers Not only the doctors, nurses, pharmacists, laboratory technologists, including persons who are outside the health system. So this is what happened. Today you have 17 of your doctors that are fallen as heroes in this particular COVID-19. The government had asked the insurance companies to liaise with Federal Ministry of Health and pay off all the health workers that have lost their lives, the group life. This, from the information from the Office of Head of Service, the insurance companies have sent what they call, admission notice or whatever, there's an insurance slang for it, to all the teaching hospitals. Name those who have lost their lives here, put their particulars of their next of kin, so that we can pay. It's just 300% of the person's emolument that will go there, plus other small pegs. Now, the university teaching hospitals and federal medical centers, they have not done their return to the insurance companies. The premium of government is there. So who do you blame? Is it not NIRD members that will go to their chief medical director's office? There is an insurance desk there, and find out whether their members have been captured, and find out whether the CMDs have transmitted back to the insurance companies those schedules for payment. They didn't do that.
So that's one, Honorable Minister. Sorry, if I may put this question in, Honorable Minister, that's just one out of several, about 7 of their demands. Concerning house officers, Honorable Minister, the central placement and payment of house officers was adopted since 2017. Implementation started January 2021. How come, despite a 4-year delay, the MDCN could not test, run, left alone perfect the system before putting the house officers through untold hardship?
Sheung, you are correct that the MDCN have not stood up to the challenges that are faced with a transition. Hitherto now, it is the teaching hospitals that recruit and pay from a GIFMIS platform. By a GIFMIS platform, monies are sent into the teaching hospitals, and they pay the house officers direct under what we call irregular allowances. It's an irregular allowance under the GIFMIS platform. So that platform has been abolished because everybody is going into IPs. The federal government wants everybody is paying to be recorded under the IPs. Now, it is only in about 23 centers that we have this problem. And that is for 2 months of November and December that we are not fully paid because of the movement into the IPs platform. 2, there's another group that were recruited between January and March by some teaching hospitals and federal medical centers, federal tertiary centers, against a standing circular asking them not to recruit, but to key everything into the central recruitment process of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. And they had what you can call a power tussle. And some of them recalcitrantly went and recruited people. About 6 centers did so. And so those house officers were, if you like, in quotes, illegally recruited. But in the negotiating table, we said everybody will be paid. Let us start with those that have satisfied the accreditation quota. Those people were paid on 26th of March by the Office of the Accountant General. And they tendered their schedule of payment to us 2 days ago. We now directed the same Accountant General, the other centers, the other 23 centers, comprising of those you termed illegally recruited and those you have shortfall between November and December. Start their payment immediately now and confirm to us that you finish all of them in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Medical Dental Council of Nigeria, start your reaccreditation for the quota, open your portal so that new house officers who can come in, because the idea is for the young men not to run the streets, for them to lose no time and get into the training program. Husbandship is a part of a training program.
All right.
You only
Honorable
practice
Minister,
medicine with a full certificate.
We are due for a break. Yeah, we are due for a break, a commercial break. Let's go on that break. And when we come back, there are more pertinent issues as regarding this doctor strike and what is the federal government doing about them. We pick up some of those issues when we return from this timeout, everyone. Join us again.
Doctors have been turned to alms beggars. They beg money from nurses, people, parents, and everybody around just to feed, just to go to work, just to pay their rents, just to pay the school fees of their children. Why people still feel we can come and sign memorandum of actions and tell them that you're still going to pay them 4 weeks later and tell them to go back to work? The Hippocratic Oath has said that the health of the doctor also matters. That means if you send a doctor that is hungry and have not been able to eat or buy his basic necessities, and he's a dependent, people depend on him, and you expect him to go and give care to somebody, and when he does something wrong, his license will be seized. That shows we're not being sincere to us also. And I think Nigerians should call the government to bear for anything that happens to anybody, any patient that is ill. The government should be sued and take responsibility for the bad actions they have led us to.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. This is a Friday. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, is our guest tonight and responding to the reasons why doctors are still on strike, members of the NARD. You heard, Honorable Minister, you heard what the President and leader of the NARD said there, and what is described as a pathetic situation the doctors are facing. Well, let's begin again. The Nigerian health workers have been clamoring for upward review of the hazard allowance from the paltry sum of 5,000. COVID-19 came along and the FG paid 3 months COVID hazard inducement allowance when the hazard of the health workers face every day are clear and present.
Sharing the hazard allowance of 5,000 naira, by any standard, you cannot say it is fair and just. That hazard allowance was fixed when I was still in the Federal Ministry of Health in 1992. And later on, other health persons clamored for the same hazard. And because everybody got onto that hazard, the mess that had that hazard, I think everybody lost interest in it. Because that hazard, as we talk now, belongs to the driver who is in the hospital premises. It belongs to the man who is in the mortuary. It belongs to the ward attendant. It belongs to the nurses. It belongs to the person in the laboratory. So that's what I think happened. It is the last NMA president, Fadu Yule, that called my attention. The hazard was still 5,000. And I raised it with the finance minister and the vice president in the Economic Sustainability Committee meeting. In fact, to use the word of the vice president, he said it's criminal, that it shouldn't happen. So I convened a meeting in the early days of hazard in my conference room in my house, without all the risk and everything in my residence. And all the health professionals gathered there. And I told them, this is what the Economic Sustainability Committee has said. And African labor ministers were comparing notes with our colleagues, and every other country have adjusted their own. So we want to adjust and give you a special COVID allowance.
But how soon will that happen?
Out of our volition. Nobody forced us.
How soon will that happen, Honorable Minister?
So
how soon will the new hazard allowance happen?
The new hazard allowance will be done in the next 5 weeks. Is in the memorandum of action we signed. Immediately after the Easter break, I will convene a meeting of Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Finance, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Office of Head of Service, and we will look at it holistically. There are some other people that are taking hazard now. Some security personnel are taking hazard allowance. And it's greater than 5,000. So what I'm telling you is that government is not averse to this at all. The same government has spent 32 billion to pay hazard allowances during for the COVID 3 months. For those 3 months, 32 billion. 20 billion first and another 12 billion following. Some doctors went home with close to $500,000 naira as COVID allowance. Yes, I can tell you because I'm sure what I'm saying. So we are going to review this. It's criminal not to review it. But NAD is not the people that are in the front run for this review. So let them not pretend that they are freedom fighters for the people in the medical industry. It's not true. The NMA has started initial negotiations on this. I held a meeting with them in February, an NMA delegation. NAD members are members of NMA. So it should not be a point here.
All right.
Because discussions on it have started.
All right. So,
I told the JOHESU members that came individually to go and prepare their papers that this meeting will be convened any moment from now. So we have started preliminary discussions on this. Even the government side meeting we had last week, we agreed on this, that it's going to be done. So let them
Minister, let me take up.
Fighters, because I heard the president say, "Oh, we are fighting for everybody in the medical and the health industry." No, it's not true. This one is our own volition. I'm a medical doctor, so I will not allow my constituency to be cheated.
Yeah, but they're crying out because they feel that others have been paid and that amount is paltry. But let's quickly take up one or two issues before we end the program. We have a few minutes. Isn't it a letdown for this nation and this government, Honorable Minister? The state of healthcare in this country is worrisome. One that could not cater for the health need of the #1 citizen of the country. And the trip of the president coincides with the doctor's strike. Is that not worrisome, Honorable Minister?
Sharon, I don't like when you journalists talk. You talk like there's no investigation. Go and look at the budgets. Go and look at what COVID has done to countries and what it has done for Nigeria. The positive aspect of COVID is that Nigerian health institutions are being rebuilt. Molecular laboratories all over the place. Our centers are being refurbished. Even the private sector under Kogavis have joined. And everybody is lifting up our health facilities. So you don't look at the budget. You say that this government has done it. Go and look at the budgets of even before COVID. Go and look at what this government has been spending on health.
But
see whether any other government have done so.
No, Honorable Minister.
If Mr. President of Nigeria had been going to his doctors for second opinion in the UK for the past 40-something years, because he's now president of Nigeria, you don't want him to go. I, as little as I am, I go abroad for second opinion on my medical condition, even though I don't have any underlying. But I seek second opinion.
But it still brings us to the
right. Implicit right.
Yeah, it still brings us to the
doctor to give him a second opinion, apart from his personal physician.
It brings us to the state of health in Nigeria. And when you're talking about the state of health, Honorable Minister, and let me just put it to you quickly about the state of health. Is there any kind of seriousness shown in the amount even budgeted? You just mentioned it, but let me put it to you that in the United States, there is a threshold per person of $10,000. In Nigeria, it's just $6. Let me also say, Honorable Minister, that the Nigerian Medical Association has said that about 2,000 Nigerian doctors leave the country to develop country over issues of work condition and pay and looking for greener pasture, brain drain. And that is the state of our healthcare, Honorable Minister.
I will not allow you to draw me into that controversy. I will not. Because the figures you are reeling out, the statistics you are reeling out is wrong. It's wrong. Over here, they only talk about health in terms of what you give to hospitals. How about what you spend on water and sanitation? It's part of health. Go and bring the money on water and sanitation. And even the environment is part of health system. So that's why I'm telling you your statistics is wrong. The people who are talking about those who are going for greener pastures, how many medical doctors in residency training in America ask government to pay them residency training fund? How many? In the United States, you pay to enter the residency program. In the UK, the same. You are paying. Here, we pay them in training, salaries and allowances, and also give them money for examination, for books, for transport, to exams. Please, Sheikh, don't draw me into that area, please.
Honorable Minister,
it's my constituency, and I don't want to say certain things I don't like to say here.
Unfortunately, there is no even time to go into that debate tonight. But let's close in 30 seconds. And the question is, how soon can you make the doctors go back to work? It's going to hurt the health institutions if these doctors are still going home on strike.
Immediately after the holidays, I'll talk to them again. I have told the Medical and Dental Council what to do with the holidays. I've told the Accountant General's office what to do to make sure that the 23 institutions, not all institutions are involved. It's about 23 institutions. Federal medical centers and teaching hospitals combined. Try to see how you can start payment on this second group of backlog, people who you call overbloated numbers on your quota. We have waived your quota for now. Everybody that is in that system, pay. That is what is contained in our memorandum of understanding.
All right.
So I want to know what they have done by Tuesday, and by Tuesday, I will invite them back. If they become recalcitrant, there are other things I can do. There are weapons in the labor laws. I will invoke them. There is no work, no pay. Their employers have a role also to keep their business afloat, keep patients alive.
All right.
They can employ locum doctors. So we won't get there. But if we are going to get there, we use that stick. It's there in the law.
All right. Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for talking to us right here on China's television. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. Enjoy the rest of your Easter holiday.